exclamation mark exit lag in my chat, you click on that link, you can get up to 44% discount annually. And it works for Final Fantasy, and not just that. You are playing Diablo next week, right? You want to use What the Fast and then play Diablo next week on the new season, hardcore maybe, and then DC and die? No! Use exit lag. They also have a great note for Diablo 4, man.
Arthur, so you're using exit lag right now as we speak?
Yes.
Can you show it on stream? Because I don't believe you.
Bam! See? You can also use it for Ion, and I also use it for Diablo 4. It's great, man.
You guys don't have exit lag? You're exclamation point exit lag?
Did you see Zepla's new video? No. You want to link it for me? React time! What is the video about? Her age? About Endwalker sucks? I mean, is she wrong? Endwalker is the worst 40 expansion I played. She's not wrong. Okay, we will watch that video later. I'm in the middle of P10. If this party don't go ahead, we'll watch it. If this party end, I'll watch it. But let's be really honest. Shadowbringer is pretty bad compared to Storm's Blood. Endwalker is slightly better to me than Shadowbringer, but I still don't think Endwalker is better than Storm's Blood. Which then is like a mathematical equation. Storm's Blood is better than Shadowbringer. Shadowbringer is better than Endwalker. Therefore, Storm's Blood, Endwalker. But if Storm's Blood is the worst expansion, then what is Endwalker? This has always been what I feel about Endwalker so far. Now, I'm not sure whether Zepla would mean this. Again, when we watch the video, we will look at that. But to me, right, I start comparing expansions since Storm's Blood because of Ultimate, because of Eureka, because when, okay, as good as Heavensward is, Heavensward don't have that much content compared to Storm's Blood. We don't have Eureka, although we have Diadem. We don't have Ultimate. So that is like, you don't compare Heavensward to A Realm Reborn. You don't compare Heavensward to Storm's Blood. A Realm Reborn and Heavensward is in the same comparison. Whereas Storm's Blood and up to Endwalker is the same comparison. Does that make sense? That's how I feel. I am never going to compare Endwalker to Heavensward, for example. I'm never going to compare Shadowbringer to Heavensward, for example. I'm not going to compare Storm's Blood to A Realm Reborn, for example. Because I feel like Storm's Blood is where the game, this is the direction of the game, right? 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, 5.0, 6.0. Make sense? This is the route that the game has taken. Initially, you thought that after here, the game will go this direction. More hardcore, more crazy. You see the raid, you see the rotation. You think that the game is going to be continuing to be harder. But the game didn't go this route. The game ended up going this route, which is like a slightly more approach theme park route. But at the same time, they also have grind for you. Like for example, Eureka. Eureka is the type of content that you think will be mainstream. You think that the game will be more grindy. You think that there will be more open world stuff. You cannot cut corners in the game. You thought the game will go this route. But then when they go this route, Eureka become an optional content. This is just one example. This is just one example, right? Example number one. Content like Eureka, I thought that in 3.0 onwards, it will be mainstream. Grind, difficult, inconvenience. But then it turns out that, you know, the go this route, everything become very fun to play. Your EX Troll is super easy. Raid, Delta Scape, extremely easy. And then they implement Ultimate, which is also optional. They continue this theme park route all the way until 6.0. You compare these three, but you compare these two. They are different category. These three expansion is in one category. These two is one category. You never compare this to this. So for me, even today, I still think that Endwalker is not Storm's Blood yet. When I say Shadowbringer is better than Endwalker, I am giving this situation. DSR is Shadowbringer Ultimate. I don't think DSR is the Endwalker Ultimate. So if DSR is a Shadowbringer Ultimate, then Shadowbringer is better than Endwalker. And then you compare raid to raid, I think Eden kind of is better than Pandemonium. Now obviously I think Anabasios is amazing, but I don't think Asperdilos is great. I don't think Abyssos is as good. The entire Eden is just better than Pandemonium, right? Number one. Number two, there is no Eureka content. Yes, we get Criterion, but because of how they handle the reward structure, Borgia is mainly you get relic content, you get a little bit of grind, you get some fates, critical engagement, which is fun, and then you get some large skill dungeon, and then you got a large skill 24 savage. I do think that if you bundle all that thing together, and then you put Criterion and relic in Endwalker together, I think Borgia, as it is, I think Borgia is still better, right? I think Borgia, the relic grind, the fates, the critical engagement, the immense savage is still better than 3 Criterion reward and a relic with no grind. Makes sense, right? Okay, let us. Oh god, the party is filled. So you know what? I need to leave. I'm sorry. We are in a more important discussion right now. Let's go in depth. Okay? Maybe we should list the pros and cons so people will understand. Okay, let's start with Storm's Blood first, okay? Pros and cons. Pros, ultimate intro. Eureka, best content. Good relic quest. Most fun job. Rotation. Although Heavensward is pretty hard, I feel like it's not overcomplicated, and I also feel like it's fun, but it's not as complicated as Heavensward. It's not as high skill ceiling like Heavensward, but I think it's enough. I think it's the best sweet spot. I do think that is the last time we have fun playing a job. Endwalker is the worst I've ever played jobs. It was not fun. Endwalker jobs are not fun. Cons, raid was kinda easy. Story was very mid. Xenos, man. EX Trial was underwhelming. Okay, before I guess along the way, if we think about something, we're adding in. Let's go to Shadowbringer. Pros. Consistency of ultimate difficulty. This one is hard to follow. I really thought that ultimate will become easier. I really thought that how the players has become better. I really thought that ultimate will become easier. I did not expect ultimate actually can become harder. I don't know how Square Enix did it, but they did. And I think that is a very good compliment for me. Pros. Okay, still pros. Still pros. As bad as Borgia was, it still served the same purpose as Eureka. So again, consistency. Jobs are still somewhat fun. Yeah. Gunbreaker, best Shadowbringer job. EX Trials were a lot better. Cons, COVID happened, which caused a drought in content. Not Shadowbringer fault, right? But it is what it is, right? Oh, pros. Best story ever. Lack of second ultimate, but you can kind of consider DSR as a 5.x ultimate. Okay, I guess I can add in no deep dungeon. Okay, drought in content is like a lot of delays. No deep dungeon is straight up -1, right? 24-man raid was a show. When I put it out like that, it starts to become very glaring when we get into Endwalker. Ooh, here we go, Endwalker. Pros. Now, this list is not completed, obviously. If you guys think about something, do let me know. EX Trials were amazing. 24-man was solid. But is it better than Evilist? Evilist is not only good for the story, Evilist was also very good for the difficulty. As good as this 24-man is in Endwalker, it's not Evilist. Pros, Norfica, okay? I'll give you that, okay? I will give you that because that just shows how desperate we are to try to leave Endwalker out, okay? Yes. Fine. Let's just say reintroduce deep dungeon. Criterion. Nah, I don't consider all the casual stuff. I don't consider quality of life. I'm talking about content. Things that you play, things that you do. PvP, okay. Feast is good. Oh, not Feast. Crystalline Conflict. Island Sanctuary. Island Sanctuary is a con. Cons. Raids. Job balance. Worst it ever got. Job gameplay. Worst it ever got. No Borgia. Eureka. No Relic Quest. Cutie. Criterion reward. Yeah, rewards in general are pretty bad. But then that is not Endwalker's problem. That is just Final Fantasy XIV problem. But Criterion has to be mentioned because Criterion is the Endwalker specific new content. And then for them to forget the reward is more of Criterion reward rather than overall 14 reward, right? Lots of bugs. Oh my god. Most bugs ever seen in Final Fantasy XIV. Okay, this is not just TOP. This is just the amount of bugs in Endwalker is insane. If you consider DSR as 5.x ultimate, then 6.x only have one so far. We have story in all these pros and cons, so we have to put story here somewhere. But is that considered a con though? It is. Yes, it is. First half of Endwalker story was literally filler to end Storm's Blood. It only began in second half from LPs. As bad as Storm's Blood story was, but from the beginning to the end of Storm's Blood, it was Storm's Blood. For Shadowbringer, from the beginning to the end, it is Shadowbringer. But then for Endwalker, the first half is not Endwalker, right? The first half is just, okay, we have a Shadowbringer that we didn't tie up, just wrap it up so that we can quickly start Endwalker, you know what I mean? This list is obviously not full. This list is obviously not comprehensive, but I just want to show you just an initial look and feel. When you look at all these things, right, we try to nitpick as well, by the way. We are nitpicking, yes, a lot of things are nitpicking, but overall I want to make sure, okay, disclaimer, we need a disclaimer, in before someone clip me out of context, we need a disclaimer. FF14 is still it's still a good, it's not amazing, it's good. It's still a good MMORPG. Now you actually look at it, right? Everybody says that Storm's Blood was the worst expansion. But if you actually look at it, in comparison to this, is Storm's Blood really that bad? I actually think now that we compare these last 3 expansions, Storm's Blood turns out to be not so bad. You start to see the flaws of not just Endwalker, but also the flaws of just Final Fantasy XIV. It's like, I think this is the tipping point. I think Endwalker showcased you that 14 cannot continue the way it is anymore. I do think that Endwalker is still a pretty good expansion. I still think that Endwalker have a lot of things to do. I still think that Endwalker, even though insert content is not as challenging / hard or longevity compared to the other content that we had before, And even though we don't have Eureka, which is, not hard to do, it's just a grind. But then Criterion is harder. You need to play better to clear, but then you never go in again. 7.0 cannot be like this again. I think Endwalker has shown you the most fundamental flaw in Final Fantasy XIV. This don't fly anymore. Shadowbringer was the last time the formula worked. Endwalker is the first time people start to realize that there's a flaw in the formula. I think Yoshi P should know this. I'm gonna say Endwalker is like this because of FF16. I hope so. I hope so. Because that at least there is an excuse. If you tell me this is the best Final Fantasy XIV and its developers can do, I will be very scared and very disappointed. I will tell you that, man, 7.0 is gonna be scary. If you tell me that this is them considering that the game has improved, then 7.0 is gonna be bad. But if you tell me, okay guys, Endwalker is because of FF16, okay, you know what? Fine, fine. Now that FF16 is done, now that the development power and the team are back to focus on 14, then 7.0 surely will be better. I think we should just believe that. Let's hope that's the case, really. So guess it works out. Of course it's hell to work. You're working on 2 games. It's impossible. You are human. We are bounded by a 24-hour limitation a day. And a human being needs proper rest 7 to 8 hours a day. You just don't have enough time. It's just science, man. It's just simple mathematics. You can't. I'm gonna be really honest with you. I know that this is gonna upset a lot of people. 16 is literally the same as Final Fantasy XIV. It is a good game. It is not a great game. I don't think 16 is the best Final Fantasy ever made. And because 16 is doing a lot of things that is not the same as traditional numbered series Final Fantasy, then it is obviously meant that it will be subjected to comparison to the previous Final Fantasy. Now, the previous Final Fantasy had this very big thing that makes it Final Fantasy number 1, turn-based, ATB. There's a reason why Final Fantasy 13 and 12 was so heavily criticized, even though they are still good games, just like 16, even though they are good games. But it's always going to be heavily criticized because of the lack of turn-based. Now, I'm not saying that turn-based is good. I'm just saying that the legacy of Final Fantasy games comes from there. So if you break away from that legacy, you break away from the route, you create something new, then comparisons will come in. Now, when comparisons come in, it is pretty normal using just simple brain cells, common knowledge, and common sense to know that when the comparison comes in, your community and your feedback will be divided. That's why Yoshi P always says he wished that 16 is not called 16. He wished that 16 is considered like a spin-off, a non-numbered series. He wished that 16 will be called like something like Stranger of Paradise, where it's a stand-alone Final Fantasy and not a numbered Final Fantasy, because that he knows Yoshi P is not dumb. He knows that changing the combat is gonna get combat. He knows that the story going the other way around is gonna get combat. He knows that now you don't control your party, you're only controlling one guy, is gonna be compared. These are stuff, right? But obviously there are good things. The boss fights are good. It's very action-packed. You will love it if you like action games. But the fact that Yoshi P already acknowledged not everybody like action game, but we make this game action game, so obviously a portion of the player base is gonna be like, we can't play this game, I'm just not good enough, so we give you reviewer mode. You see what I mean? Like, the game is already compensating, whereas the other numbered Final Fantasy doesn't need to compensate. 12, 13, and 15 try to compensate. People hate it. People don't like it. 16 is on that path, right? But I think 16 is a good game, but what I'm trying to say is 16 is not a it's not the greatest game. It's not the greatest Final Fantasy, right? You compare to a previous numbered Final Fantasy, which, it's unfair to compare, I know. But you have to, because it's a numbered game. It's not my fault. I don't compare Strangers of Paradise. I don't compare Crisis Core to Final Fantasy VII. I don't compare Strangers of Paradise to Final Fantasy 1 because they are spin-off. So you don't really directly compare them. You leave them alone. Dirge of Cerberus. Ugh, that's not Final Fantasy 16. That's 7. That is a spin-off. I think Yoshi P would have loved to make 16 a spin-off rather than a numbered title. But it is what it is. Yeah, I know. I'm going through myself first. So I want to see whether Zebla share the same thought. Because I do agree with her title, her video title, that Endwalker is the worst expansion out of these 5 expansions, and this is the worrying part, because as the game goes, you thought it would be better. Endwalker is paper on cracks. Endwalker have a lot of band-aid. We cannot fix this, paste this, we cannot do that, paste this, okay, cover this, cover that. At some point, you're gonna run out of limb to cover all the holes. So hopefully 7.0, they will discard that tank and they make a new tank. Then, if they make a new tank, obviously comes with new feature, new system, new whatever. They can continue building the new tank, and then the flaws come in again. But at least 7.0, hopefully it's gonna feel fresh. Because Endwalker is really not fresh anymore. It's really not fresh anymore. There is no holy shit thing in Endwalker. In Heaven's Sword, there is like... In Storm's Blood, there is like... In Shadowbringer, there was like... In Endwalker, it's like... You know what I mean, right? I feel like every expansion prior to Endwalker have this holy shit, But Endwalker didn't have that holy shit. I have not felt that yet. I do think that Endwalker is a filler. I do think so. But then it's just like a movie, right? Just like I guess it's just like a typical TV series, a movie. The climax is always in the middle. The end is always closure. When you finish the climax, the end is just tying loose ends, wrap it up. So the ending is always usually not super exciting. It's just a relief, a closure, right? So maybe that's why Endwalker feels so bad. I don't know, man. I don't know. Now, this rate here is great, though. 6.4 has been amazing. But we don't have an ultimate, so